everyone, and this is Troy from Coaster Universe. Today I will be building my first wooden coaster in Roller Coaster Tycoon World. As you will see, I will be struggling a lot with it. But as you know, that's not what I talk about in the Let's Plays. So let's get to the actual topic I'm going to be talking about. As you see in the title, I will be talking about my final day at Geauga Lake, which was the final day in Geauga Lake history. Now, sad enough at the time, since I didn't know it was the last day, I didn't think to bring my camera. At the time, I did not know it was Geauga Lake's final day. In fact, I didn't find out until they announced it on the news. But I kind of had a feeling something was up because that was the only day I went in all of 2007. And it was kind of weird because a lot of their big rides were gone, like Steel Venom, X-Flight, the Drop Tower, even though they had issues and that was going to get removed anyway. But it was kind of weird that a lot of the big rides were being removed, and the fact that the Big Dipper went off into an abandoned part of the park, and you could tell they had no plans on covering any of that up and hiding it from the public. But nothing really came across my head because at the time it was Oktoberfest, and there were so many people there, and there were stands lining every part of the midway. There were more vendors that were set up just for the day in the park than there were actual vendors set up permanently in the park. But with the in-park vendors, the ones that were permanently there, like the restaurants, one thing that also is really weird that we were noticing is they were selling their frozen food. It's not like they were selling it pre-cooked, they were selling it for $5 for an entire frozen pizza, or two. It was crazy sales, and again, something just didn't feel right with that. Then on top of it, once it got towards the end of it, all of the game areas, because they have all those big stuffed animals and stuff that say Geauga Lake or whatever park it's at will have that name on it. But any stuffed animal, they were just handing out. You didn't even have to play the game, and they were just handing out all the prizes of the games. And then they had the boat closed, which was weird because that was such a big attraction at the park because it brought you around the lake. But they built the boardwalk down the center of the lake, so they couldn't even have the ferries without having it run into the boardwalk. But on my final day, I was able to get on the Big Dipper, the Villain, the Boomerang. Raging Wolf Bob's was closed, so sadly I wasn't able to get on that, which at the time was actually one of my favorite wooden coasters. I know a lot of people hated it, but I actually did like it. I rode all the simulators at the back of the park. I took my last climb in the giant net area that was back at the old SeaWorld area. I walked across the boardwalk across to the water park, which was its final weekend when I went. Then I also was able to ride like a lot of the smaller flat rides towards the front, and Hay Baler, which was one of my favorite flat rides. And yeah, I did all my favorites, and I'm happy I got all of them in. But the ones I sadly were never able to ride was Thunderhawk and Dominator and Texas Twister. Of all the rides, I really wanted to ride those, but sadly I wasn't tall enough to ride them until about halfway through the next winter, which I was not happy at all about. But I did get on Dominator last year, and I will be getting on Thunderhawk later this year, actually, sometime in the spring towards its opening, because there's a Primus concert up in Michigan. I don't know how many of you know about the band Primus. I know a lot of people find them really weird. I was introduced to them, and I listened to their music, and I love the bass lines. Okay, so I am a huge music nut. I don't know how many of you know that. I'm sure hardly anybody does, but I love music. That's why Rock and Roller Coaster is one of my favorite coasters, and I really wish I could have gone to Hard Rock Park. But let's get back to Geauga Lake. So, me, my parents, my grandma, and her fiance, we all went together, and sadly that was the last thing we all did together because he passed shortly after this trip. But one thing that I will always keep close to me is a prize that he actually won at one of the games, my grandma's fiance. His name was Chuck. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met. But he won this dog at a game. I can't remember which game it was, but he won this dog for me, and he gave it to me, and that is probably one of my most prized possessions from Geauga Lake that I'll ever have. And that'll probably be one of my most prized possessions ever. So in other words, my final trip to Geauga Lake was one of the single saddest trips I've ever had. Oh, one little funny story I do remember from this whole trip that I can look back and now and laugh on it. Then I wasn't so much laughing, but now I can. By one of these beer stands, I was waiting for my dad, and he went to go get a drink, and I'm waiting by this pole, and it was like I was sitting up on next to the pole, up on like a little bench thing, and then next to that was a park map, and on the back of that park map, I remember there's a bee's nest, and I'm just sitting there, and a whole ton of bees just come swarming after me, and I started running because I'm not allergic to bees, but I don't like getting stung by them, and I'm sure none of you like getting stung by them either. Okay, that's how I'm going to end this video. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and please go down to the link in the description below and check out the Coaster Universe forums. Please become a member for free, and you can post as much as you want in the forums. See you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.